We are going to practice the applique stitch today. Applique is when you are adding decorative elements to otherwise kind of plain fabrics. So you can use applique on clothing, on soft goods for the home like blankets. You could do it to purses, just anything to add some extra kind of pizzazz to your projects. So what you need is you need a piece of white fabric. That's going to be your background. You need a piece of colored fabric or some kind of print. And then you need a piece of paper-backed fusible web. Now the fusible web has a paper side that you can fill, and then the other side is kind of bumpy. That's going to create an iron-on. So you want to make sure that you're drawing your design on the paper-backed side. For today, just do a really simple kind of basic shape. You could do your initials or you could do a number. If you're going to use letters and numbers, they need to be fairly big. You need to make them block-like, and you need to write them backwards because the paper side is technically the wrong side of what the iron-on will be. So any letters or numbers need to be backward. I'm just going to do a simple heart. So I have it on the paper side of my fusible web. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to iron it to the wrong side of my printed fabric. So I have the wrong side. I'm going to make sure the paper side is up. And that web part, the bumpy part, is against the wrong side of the fabric. And you're just going to go over and press your design on. So remember, when you press, don't move the iron back and forth. You just want to lift it up, press it down for a couple seconds, and then move it over. It shouldn't, if the iron is really hot, it shouldn't take very long to fuse this fusible web to your patterned fabric. Make sure when you get to the ironing board that the fusible web is perfectly fitting on your fabric. You don't want it to hang over or you're going to get sticky goo on the ironing board. So if you need to, trim down the fusible web so that it's not hanging over. And then just take the iron, press it, count to like 10, and then just move it over. And then just keep doing that until your design is glued to the wrong side of your patterned fabric. Now you're going to go ahead and cut out your design. Just cut on the lines that you drew so that you have your shape. All right, when I went to cut mine out, I decided to make it bigger than what I originally drew. All right, make sure you're using as much of the pattern fabric as you can. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna peel off this paper, and it should leave the shiny fusible web on your fabric. You really can't see this. Oh, there we go. You can see that it's created kind of an iron-on the fabric. So pull that paper all the way off. If you're pulling it off and the fusible web isn't stuck to the wrong side of the fabric, go back up to the iron and press it for a couple more seconds. Once you get the paper peeled off, you're just going to go and put your design on the white background, and we're going to press it again. It's going to iron it now on to your white background. When you're doing applique, you don't have to use fusible web. You can just use pins to keep it in place. The fusible web just really stops it from shifting, and it makes it easier to sew on later. All right, so I've pressed it on. It's there. Now we're going to go and do the applique stitch or the buttonhole stitch all the way around it. When you get to your machine, it's going to be stitch number 28. So you're going to go hashtag 28, and that will be programmed in. We just need to use presser foot 1. And then it's already going to set the width and the length. Now the applique stitch is going to do a couple of stitches along the edge of your design, and then it will go over and it will go horizontal into it. So you want to make sure that you're keeping the edge of your applique right along the edge where it's going to go vertical. So I tested my buttonhole stitch to make sure it's doing the right stitch on a piece of scrap fabric. That might be a good idea before you actually start sewing on your applique piece. And you can see it's going to do a straight stitch, and you want that on the very, very edge of your applique. And then it's going to go over horizontally and catch your applique. So as you line up your fabric, you want to make sure when you put it under the presser foot, one-handed and it's not working. All right, when you put it under there, if you look at presser foot number 1, there's a little engraved line right here in the center. you want to follow the edge of your applique shape with that engraved line right there. So that's what you're going to be watching, so that the vertical line stays right here on the edge, and then it's going to catch over into your applique. So I'm going to try and do this and hold the phone at the same time. Hopefully it's not too shaky. Okay, so if you're doing something with turns, just gently turn it. Just make sure that the edge of that applique is staying right with that center engraved line. Okay, my thread's kind of stuck here. Give me 1 second. Okay, I unstuck the thread, and so I can continue sewing. If you look back here, you can see that the straight stitch or the vertical stitch is right on the edge, and then as it goes over, it's just catching the inside edge of your applique shape. It's really important that it's just on the edge. That adds the decorative element, and it stops it from fraying as you use your applique pieces, whatever, if you're adding it to clothing or bags or whatever. Now, if you're in sewing 2, go ahead and glue this to page 30 of your sewing book. And if you have enough time, you can do the next part of the slideshow. I'm not 100% sure how long this guy will take all of you, so if you don't get to that, don't worry about it. Please take your sewing book home and a measuring tape for Friday's digital assignment. Make sure you log on Friday, do the assignment, submit it to Canvas. If you have any questions, you can click on the Zoom link and I'll be available to talk and answer any questions, but you don't need to log on for attendance. Just do the assignment and that will count for attendance for the day. All right, have a great weekend and I will see you next week.